And we keep on talking about innovation, creativity, and transformation. I am Rosana Jatobá, and my guest today is the head of catalog for Netshoes. Welcome, Tatiana Veiga. How are you? Hi, Rosana. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be with you. Tatiana, we know Netshoes stood out due to a series of innovation cases, but I would like to know how you describe innovation. Many people say it's about a disruptive action or a crazy idea, while others think innovation is present in our work routine, in the minimal details. What do you think? This is a very interesting point. When we talk about innovation, we tend to think of something that's high-tech, very disruptive, but always tied to technology. And there's always this bias. However, innovation, when you ask around, and we did this in the company, a few years ago, we asked many people in the company how they would describe innovation, and we noticed that we got all sorts of answers. Some people said that to innovate is to do something nobody else has ever done before. Other things that would be the combination of technology to create a new product. But at the end of the day, what we noticed is that innovation must be, above all else, part of all the processes in the company. You don't necessarily have to think about something that's high-tech or very disruptive. Many times in the day-to-day activities, the processes in each area, we've noticed that innovation must be a top-to-bottom approach. The whole company must be committed to innovation. It must see this in the small details in day-to-day activities. I can even tell you about something that happened in the company, and it's a very interesting case that involved customer services. Netshoes was always customer-focused in all areas. And we had a customer that contacted us saying that he had a family member who had special needs and disabilities, and they wanted to buy a pair of Crocs. However, given the physical problems this patient had, she had feet of different sizes, and every time they had to purchase a pair of shoes, they had to purchase two pairs. And the customer said he had talked to many people, and nobody wanted to listen to his problem. So Netshoes saw this customer with different eyes. Nobody else did it, and the company sent one pair of each size to this customer and said, well, you can always count on us. Whenever you need, we will always sell you pairs with different sizes in each foot. So these are small details, and we think about it and say, well, how come nobody else has ever thought about it? But I think we need to take sometimes a different stance and see things as opportunities, and this opportunity can be an innovation. But to meet a demand like the one you described, so individualized, how does this impact the company beyond good reputation? Well, I think the whole company transpires this. Everyone stops and looks and thinks, well, I must really see my area, regardless of which area, and think that I can innovate and see innovation as something that I have to include in my day-to-day activities. I don't have to do anything that's very different. What I have to do is to try to take risks, to innovate in small things. And this creates a chain in which everyone in the area, marketing, human resources, commercial area, everyone will be sharing the same mindset. So we will have this view that permeates all collaborators, that innovation is not something that's necessarily difficult. It doesn't have to be difficult. This is something you have to internalize, and then you have to give examples, and then you can come with the transformation of innovation into something very simple that everyone can use. Tatiana, you said that the innovation stimulus must come from top management. But we can even imagine top managers telling people that from now on they will have to innovate. There isn't a formula. So how do you achieve these goals? Using hints, conversations? It's funny, but we started this project. It's interesting because we started with a value revision project in the company. So we went through the company's values and we started to talk to people who had been with us for a longer time and ask, when you look at Netshoes, what do you see that's different? What do you think we should include among our core values? And in this concept, we know that the values are the culture of the company, and you can transform this into a ritual, and it must be so. So we noticed there were values that are very obvious. We are talking about a company that operated only via the internet without any physical structure. And in this environment, you have more open collaborators, people who are more open-minded. And we had answers like to see as the owner sees, the drive to make things happen, to think outside the box. Customer is the focus. So it was very nice to see during this process. And we also reviewed the company structure and human resources. And we decided to think, well, how could we describe our hierarchy? And all managers and directors were called attackers, and the coordinators were the center forwards, always using sport as an example. And this, in the end, permeated. And like you said, there isn't a cooking recipe, but in the end, we experienced this. So our emails would read, in this email, the attackers will do such and such. And in the end, there isn't a recipe, but this becomes our routine. So I think there's a whole construction of values in human resources that in the end is integrated into a routine. Tatiana, you use the magic of soccer as a metaphor, so the ball's rolling, and there is not much control. All you want to do is to score a goal. Is it the same in innovation, a process with not much control, in which you should not fear to make a mistake? Exactly. We always make this joke, but normally people don't see things that way. And when you talk about innovation, you must be open to error. Error is part of innovation. The risk you run will have a responsibility involved, but the company tends not to focus on mistakes. The attitude is much more to go for it. And we will always take lessons from innovation. So, for example, and this is an example we use a lot, every time we have in the company our biggest retail event, which is Black Friday. Black Friday is now bigger than Christmas for us. Every year, Black Friday is bigger. And when we did our first Black Friday in Netshoes, it was all very new. I've been with the company for almost 14 years. It was all very new, tied to physical retail, and we did not know how big that would become. So we made a lot of mistakes. The website could not be accessed. We had delivery problems, stockouts. It was a total mess. And afterwards, we organized a meeting to go through our mistakes and what have we learned. Each area was held accountable, and came up with a plan of action for the next year. And this became a ritual. So now we start to discuss things in April, in May, for an event that takes place in November. So to take risks, to understand your mistakes, to see how to improve, and many times not only this mistake, you can say, I did something different, disruptive. Okay, I had some lessons. Many times we take 10 different risks and one thing works out. So that thing is your blockbuster. So you must be aware of these opportunities and be open to make mistakes. And in Netshoes, this is something very nice. There is always room for risk. So they will tell us, you're not 100% sure, but the idea is good. Let's go for it. We are going to give you support and work as a team to see what happens. And many times we made mistakes, but many times we did the right thing. And how can you leave less margin for error? I believe planning and discipline play an important role, am I right? There is no doubt. You must have a history, obviously. You can create this history to understand. So you check the players in the market, your competitors and consumers, and understanding the opportunity to be able to take risks, which precedes action, that's something that must be done. And afterwards, it's like we said, you must go through your mistakes, make adjustments, and go forward with not much ruminating. We did it, it worked. Another example I can give you, which is cool. During the World Cup in Brazil, Netshoes has always sold a lot of soccer shirts, and we saw an opportunity. We thought people will be going to the stadium to watch the games in São Paulo, in Rio de Janeiro, and other places, and they will use the subway or use some access routes to get to the stadiums, and we know a lot of people will be there. So why not put a vending machine in the subway station where people can purchase a Brazilian soccer team shirt to cheer for the team? And that was something very new. Nobody had ever done it. Vending machines are usually for snacks and drinks, etc. And we did it. But it was so much trouble. You cannot imagine. The vending machines require a capsule in which the shirts are placed, and the shirts are not delivered in the right format by suppliers, so we had to adapt them. And there were payment problems with credit cards and stuff, and we were not able to solve it immediately. So it was very disruptive, very cool, but to be honest, it was a disaster when it comes to sales. But still, it was very cool. We left an imprint, we created a differential, but as a result, really, the outcome was not that successful. And now we laugh about it because it was really so much trouble and everybody in the company was involved, but at the same time, it was very cool. So it's a lesson learned. We know that we need much more support and we will do things differently if we had to do it again. Can you not tolerate in this innovation environment? I think that more than anything is the fear to take risks. Because I think sometimes you see an opportunity and you must be in touch with your intuition. This is needed and you must be fearless. This just has to be like this because it's like I said, you may look and see a lot of people are saying it's no use. There will always be people who will tell you things won't work. But if your intuition is telling you it makes sense, so it is an opportunity and you can see this as an opportunity, it doesn't matter if there are 25 people saying you're wrong. I think you should go for it. And I remember a case, I think it was with Goodyear in the US, that I like very much. They came up with a project that's short before the coronavirus pandemic hit. They decided they wanted to offer customers, by using an app, tire replacements at home. A simple thing. And everyone in the company said, "You're crazy. Nobody will ever make such a request in the US. It's a waste of money." But they went ahead. Nobody had ever done it before. They went ahead, and then the lockdown started, and they had a huge success because they were assisting ambulances, hospitals. So we can never know. If you don't see this as an opportunity, this may still be a huge success. So I think that the fear to take risk is something that you cannot have. You must feel safe to go ahead and grasp the opportunity. You said you must listen to your intuition, and we know intuition is a woman thing. Do you think feminine participation in this innovation environment is promising? What can you say about it? No doubt. I have no doubt about it. We joke about intuition, but I believe women, they are able, they have this ability to combine rationality and feelings. Touch, sensitivity, women are more sensitive, and I think that they are able to have a better perception of the environment. And maybe things that might seem foolish in the eyes of other people, for women, a woman, she's so far away from this sort of things. She says, "Well, I do so many other things, and I face so many other demands that I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to take a stance." And I think for this reason, women tend to take these issues more lightly. "I'll take the risk, it's okay, no big issue. It's already so difficult as a woman to stand out that I will go forward and see what happens." And I think that's why I mentioned intuition, but I think intuition, and I mean a well-founded sort of intuition, not just a loose intuition, I think it has to do with women's attitude. Women have always had to take a firm stance historically, and I think that's why they are less afraid to take risks. Tatiana, what a great conversation. Congratulations for your attitude in business, and I'd love to see you again. You have brightened our festival. Thank you very much, Rosana. It was lovely. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. It was great to talk to Tatiana. And it's just as she said, you have to face the risks involved in the innovation. We have to be responsible to know how far to go. This is crucial, and it's a good path to follow. Please stay with us, because there is more to come. See you shortly.